Hello everyone, Darko 2012 here with Global Government News, and I'm reading an article titled Why Europe Doesn't Want an Invasion of Body Scanners. And this was by the Christian Science Monitor, and it was posted on January 27th, 2010. In Europe, body scanners may simply not be cost effective, regardless of whether they represent a possible health risk or the digital equivalent of a strip search. And for anybody that says that I'm saying that they're a health risk, just this is my disclaimer because I've got a lot of crap about this from one particular person. They represent a real health risk. I'm not saying that. I'm reading this from an article. This is Christian Science Monitor. So these aren't my words. This is this article's words. I'm just carrying it. I'm sorry if I'm taking this out on my viewers, but I've had one particular person I've had to deal with for the past 3 days, who's tied up all my time and trying to explain to him that I'm just covering an article. This is not my words. London. To borrow a phrase from counter-terrorist parlance, Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab alleged plot to bring down a Detroit-bound airliner on Christmas Day was a game changer. As a reluctance to introduce body scanners at airports eases, two countries deploying them nationwide this month include Britain, reportedly a key setting for the Nigerian student's radicalization, and the Netherlands, where Mr. Abdulmutallab passed through undetected before boarding a flight to the United States. But ardent opposition to them, including in the ranks of Europe's bureaucratic elite, may yet frustrate their international rollout. Beyond campaigners who worry about supposed health risk or view them as a digital equivalent of a strip search, many European aviation security experts remain unconvinced of the cost benefits. Frisking much less costly. A thorough body frisk would do the same sort of thing if it is done properly, and of course it costs a lot less, said Norman Shanks, a former head of security of the the British Airports Authority, the United Kingdom's leading airport operator, who cautions that technology is being viewed as panacea. Scanners, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but scanners also take up a lot of space, so I hope that they will be used selectively and restricted to a percentage of people. Otherwise, there will be long queues. In the U.S., where around 40 machines are in use at 19 airports, the TSA, or Transportation Security Administration, spent $25 million buying another 150 in September. Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano said on January 7th that there would be an acceleration involving the introduction of a further 300. But a privacy group accused the TSA of misleading the public with claims that scanners would not store or send the graphic images. The Electronic Privacy Information Center produced TSA documents from 2008 obtained under a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit in which administrations specifies that the scanners must have had the ability to store and send images. The TSA responded by saying that this was for the test purposes and the machines would be delivered without those capabilities. Plans in Europe face more serious hurdles, not least the opposition of the European Commission's incoming Justice Commissioner. Passengers must have the option of undergoing a body search, says Viviane Reding, who is to take up her powerful portfolio later this month. She could draft a law ruling out mandatory body scans at airports, but has stopped short of saying she will. Privacy concerns have met only a tentative embrace of scanners elsewhere in Europe. In Germany, officials said scanners would be considered once these concerns are resolved. Only certain airports will initially be equipped in France, where the idea of deploying them was dropped in 2008. Spain also has reservations. The current holder of the agenda-setting European Union presidency, it is calling for the adoption of a common EU position to avoid different types of screening. The history of Europe is littered with totalitarian dictatorships, so in some ways there is a greater sensitivity than in the U.S. Towards privacy and weighing up data protection against national security, says Chris Pounder, a British data protection expert. He believes that scanners can be made to comply with European laws by having protocols that ensure, for example, that operators viewing images cannot see the individual who has been scanned, and the images are deleted quickly. Others take on the privacy debate have also cropped up across the continent. The Rabbinical Center of Europe warned that scanners would violate the rights of religious Jewish women whose modesty would be compromised, while British children's rights campaigners said that they could breach laws banning the creation of indecent images of children. In a bid to address such worries, the Netherlands is testing software in scanners that displays a stylized body image much like a stick figure and highlights areas where objects are concealed. Would machines have detected bomb? A British Conservative MP who used the work for Kinetic Q, a scanning technology firm, warned that scanners would probably not have detected the explosives reportedly strapped to the Abdulmutallab's leg or pants, the crotch bomber. Quote, in all the testing that we undertook, it was unlikely that it would have ever picked up the current explosive devices being used by Al Qaeda. Ben Wallace said of passive millimeter wave scanners attractive because of their low amounts of radiation. Mr. Shanks, the former head of security at the British Airports Authority, also wonders about the future. One wonders what would happen the next time there was an incident with an individual who had concealed explosives internally. One response is using transmission X-rays, which can see through the body. They are currently used only at some Russian airports to counter the threat from Chechen female suicide bombers. Despite conforming to widely accepted safety standards, the X-rays emit higher levels of radiation. For now, the prospect of their introduction on a global scale appears distant, but experts have been quietly fretting about the next challenge to aviation since an Al-Qaeda bomber with an explosive inside his body tried to kill a Saudi prince last October. So, there you go. I was talking about passive millimeter wave scanners that track low amounts of radiation. And I guess what I just wanted to finish up with was my first not really introduction, but my disclaimer for anybody who says that I'm saying that these things are emitting high radiation or they're going to cause cancer or DNA destruction, because if I post an article that says that it does that, it's not me that's saying it's doing that. I'm not saying that the theory of low radiation doesn't harm the human body. I'm not exactly saying that's me that's saying it. I'm just reading an article, so I'm just getting this information out there so that people can look at it and they can kind of make their own educated decisions, because that's kind of the purpose of what I'm doing. I'm not an authority in security. I'm not an authority on physics. I'm not a professor. I hold a degree in journalism and mass communications with an emphasis on news writing. So this is what I do. I just disseminate information for the public so that they can, make more educated, decisions. So, for whatever it's worth, hopefully this article will kind of clear things up. But I just want to say thank you for everybody who has been watching my videos and checking all these different stories that I've been posting. I really do appreciate you checking them out and for engaging and leaving comments. So thank you, and take care.